Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube segment, we'll be talking about somebody who has made her name appear in headlines once again and has been part of headlines sporadically on and off since like 1997. And her name is Mary Kay Letourneau. And as many of you know, she was involved in some scandalous affair with an underage, a minor. And that was, I believe, in 1997. And now she's making news again because she wants to get her name off the sex offenders list. Now, the thing about this is, I saw something on Dr. Drew recently, and it seemed like the way they were slanting this on that show was that, well, that she coerced this young man into having this liaison with her. Now, the thing about it, okay, I'm not condoning Mary Kay Letourneau's actions by any means. However, the way I look at this in life, we all make our choices. We all have our free will. I understand somebody that's very young, that's an adolescent, or in that general ballpark, can be more impressionable, or maybe a little bit more gullible, easily manipulated, as opposed to an adult that's had more life experience. But at the same time, if somebody, I don't think, I mean, I think we know she didn't rape the kid. This is not, I don't consider that, I mean, I don't know what the law perceived this as. I haven't researched thoroughly. But when she had this illicit affair with this minor, I mean, I believe he willingly went in with this, and he was, I mean, this was on his own volition and own accord. I don't think, I mean, it's not like she put a gun to this kid's head and said, okay, you have to do such and such with me. I believe he was a very willing participant. People, a lot of people don't really touch up on this, but there is such a thing as the allure of the older woman. And I know there's obviously, this relationship is bizarro, to say the least, and the fact that they're connected right now, it's something that really is perplexing and boggles the mind, but it is what it is. And the thing about this is that also on that same show, on that Dr. Drew episode, it seemed like that they were slanting this too, where that the person that she's now with, I believe they're married, is almost like he's being captive or held against his will. Well, look, I don't think she did anything that forcibly to keep him in this relationship with her. This was done, as I stated before, on his own volition, on his own accord. This is nothing, I mean, he is an adult. He has his own right to make his own choices, his own decisions. Now, the way I see this is that, okay, he could have extricated himself from this situation at any given point in time. He has the opportunity, or had the opportunity, and still has. Now, if he wants to be connected with her, well, that's rightfully his own decision. Well, their connection now, is, of course, is legal, although it'll always be tied. People will always think of, well, what happened in yesteryear in 1997, when this was something that was seen as very depraved, and something that obviously shouldn't have happened, but it happened. And one of these things is, we can't really, I can't go on record and say, well, I think somebody's crazy, or I think someone's psychotic. But it seems to me that Mary Kay Letourneau, there's obviously, I think we can surmise there's something that may not be right. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, but there's just something that's not right with the whole situation, with her becoming so enamored and fixated with somebody that was a minor. I think what happens is, with a lot of when we look at this from whether it's a male, older person, or female, and they get this infatuation with somebody that's very young, I think it kind of rekindles their youth. It makes them feel vibrant, makes them feel alive, makes them go back maybe to a happier place in time for him or her. It's still no excuse to get involved with somebody that's a minor, and let alone it's somebody that, in this case, a student, that was a student at the time. I think when I look at this, I think what may have happened was, when she became involved with him, okay, she's a teacher, maybe she presented herself, or he perceived her as well, maybe as like a simulated mother. Maybe he wasn't getting that compassion. That, I'm not saying the sexual thing, obviously the mother's, and I know that the mother's not supposed to do that with each other, but what I mean is, the as far as the sympathy, in the compassion part of the deal, maybe he wasn't receiving that from his own mother, and maybe he saw some motherly qualities in Mary Kay Letourneau, and that is why maybe he felt so connected, and felt maybe perhaps this indelible bond with this woman. Now, the sexual thing obviously was not right. And I mean, this is something where I think there is some silver lining in this. And the fact is that when this happened, and this thing got so much notoriety and public recognition, was that maybe perhaps schools and the administration, people that figured prominently in schools all over, they may have kept a stronger watch and scrutinized more in terms of the teachers, and maybe kept an eye on them, and understand that it's not just men that can be that can show this I guess it's almost a warped interest in students. It can also be females as well. If I'm not mistaken, I believe this, I don't know if this was in the movie about this. I think there was a movie about this, if I'm not mistaken, or this was just on the news. I saw it somewhere where apparently Mary Kay Letourneau and the student, somebody had opened like a closet door, and they saw them together. And the person that was the witness to this didn't really think anything of it. Now, it makes me ponder, if this was a male teacher and it was a female student, would the opposite have happened? Would it have been reported? My feeling is that it probably would have, because I think at the time you had a little bit of a stereotype on matters connected like this, and if somebody were to see a male teacher in a closet or some small room, whatever it was, with a female student, there wouldn't be much hesitancy in reporting this. But because maybe at that time these cases didn't seem prevalent, as far as a female teacher in with a male student being involved in some warped liaison or what have you, or interlude, whatever you want to call it, it really, they didn't think much of it. Now, I think what it is these things were going on, of course, well before this incident took place, but and they probably were prevalent, but what it is they became more recognized and more scrutinized. And now it seems like ever since that happened, it seems like we have such a strong proliferation of things on the news pertaining to these stories. We'll see all kinds of things on the media and on the news and on the internet about this female teacher became involved with this underage student, and it seems like it's really gotten more recognition. And as I stated before, as far as the silver lining goes, at least now, after this incident, it seems like there's been more scrutiny on these matters, and there's not as much apprehension or hesitancy or what have you as far as reporting something like this, and perhaps it'll keep these things down at least a little bit. You're never going to stop or eradicate this kind of stuff completely, not with all the millions of people around, but you can't. But they can at least, it can be diminished because of this, and there's going to be obviously a stronger watch on matters such as these, and teachers will, whether it's male or female, will be watched a little bit, are obviously on average are watched a little bit stronger, I would say now, as opposed to before this thing happened, like in 1997 or what have you. So there is, like I said, there's some positive elements and aspects with this that happened, and unfortunately it's a shame that something like this had to become so publicized in order for maybe for these things to be more to people to show be more rigid in terms of the watching and keeping and scoping these potential situations. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube segment on Mary Kay Letourneau, and until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying, stay well.